Algebra 1 students, in this video today we're going to be learning what a box and whisker plot is and how to draw one, and also, to be honest with you, we're also going to kind of study what a box and whisker plot does for you. In other words, what good is it, okay? So that's what we're going to look at today. Your heading, please copy this in your notes, as box and whisker plot. The lesson number is 6.7, and be sure to include today's date, alright? Box and whisker plot, lesson 6.7, and be sure and include today's date, alright? Now, I think it would be a good idea if we start off this video by my showing you what a box and whisker plot looks like. This will give you an idea of the direction we are headed today, okay? So you do not have to write this down. You can if you want to. I would just sit there and watch, okay? When we draw a box and whisker plot, we usually draw a number line first, okay? And it does not have to have 0 here. It does not have to have 0 here. It depends what your numbers are. If your numbers in a list of numbers that I give you, if they range from like 100 to 300, you can start with 100 over here, put 300 over here, and then do increments of 50 or 20 or whatever you want, okay? So that part's not really important, but you start off with a number line, okay? And then you have 5 critical values. One might be here, one might be here, one here, one here, and one here, okay? And you drop down a dotted line, and let's say the number here is 7, and drop down, dotted line, put a point here. Let's say this point is 18.2, and let's say this is 19. I'm just making these numbers up. What is it? This is 24, and this is 26, okay? Actually, do I have 6 numbers there? No, it's 5. Then you connect those 5 points, and then you draw a box around the middle ones here. The 3 middle ones. And you kind of lightly shade that in like that. Although the shading part's really irrelevant to me, that's up to you, okay? But technically, you're supposed to at least shade in a little bit there, okay? And that's what a box and whisker plot looks like. Now, before this video is over today, I'm going to show you what good that this thing does, how to make these, how do you come up with those 5 numbers, etc., etc., okay? So, having shown you what it looks like, let's jump right into this. Let me show you how to write a box and whisker plot, okay? We're going to look at 2 examples. Here's the first one. I want you to draw a box and whisker plot for the given set of numbers, okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to find a bunch of medians. You can write that down if you want to. It's up to you. And of course, let's review. We learned this before. That simply means the middle number. Alright, now, here's the catch. Do you remember what I taught you about medians? You have to put the numbers in order. Now, in this example and the next example, I give them to you in order to save you time, because I know that you know how to do that already, okay? But on your own, when you do your homework, you've got to put the numbers in order first. If you don't, you will totally miss the problem, okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. The first thing you do is you find the median of the entire group. So I have 11 numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my middle number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my middle number, okay? That's easy, right? No problem. Now, the next thing you do is you find the median of these leftover numbers to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5. There's your middle number. Come over here, find your median. There's your 5 numbers. There's your middle number. Guys, this is not difficult math. It's simple. Always bring down your first number. Always bring down your last number. Okay, now, remembering the example I gave you, I told you there were 5 critical values. Well, guess what? You just found them. Let's go over it again. The first thing you do is you look at your entire big group of numbers. So these numbers pretty much run from 5. Why'd I put a 5 right here? I'm getting old, I guess. There we go. Now, these numbers run from 5 to 28. So when you draw your number line, please listen to me. You do not want to start with 5 and 28. Give a little bit of a buffer. So I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to go to 30. And we can probably go in increments of 5, okay? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. And there's my number line. Alright? Fair enough. Now if you want a number, label all these, you can. You don't have to. It's up to you, okay? You can label a couple just so we know where we're at. Something like that's fine, okay? Now, our first number is 5, okay? So you put a point here, then you drop down a dotted line, and you put a point here, and be sure and label that point. You must label that point. 9, so 5, 10, so 9's about right here. You do not have to label that point up here. You can if you want to, you don't have to. But you must label it down here at the bottom, always. These 5 values should always be written at the bottom down here. Always, okay? So moving on to 12. 12 is my next critical value, so 10, 11, 12, that's about right there. Drop down a dotted line and put a 12. 19's next, so 15, 20 is about right here. Put a point there. Always put a point up top, guys. Always. You don't have to label it, but always put a point. And then 28's way over here. So it's about right there. And then drop down and put a 28. It's easy, guys. Connect those 5 points with the line. And then your 3 points in the middle. You draw a box around that. And shade it in. Now we're going to talk later about what this does for you, okay? Right now, I'm just teaching you how to draw one. Do you understand? Okay? Now, let me show you something. You need to know this. Write this down. This first number is called your least value. This number over here is called your greatest value. Please write that in your notes. This 9 right here is called your first quartile, or quartile. It's hard to pronounce. It's like quartile. It's almost like KW. It's quartile. Is how you pronounce that. And it's spelled Quartile. Okay, please make note of that. This middle number here is called your second quartile. Now when you draw a box and whisker plot, you do not have to put all of these words. In fact, you should not do that. I'm just doing it now so you know what they're called. And this 19 is called your third quartile. Do you understand? Now, in an assignment, I might give you a list of numbers like this right here. And I might say to you, find the third quartile. So in other words, I'm not asking you to write a box and whisker plot. I'm asking you just to find that, okay? So you would find the middle number here, and then circle these, and find the middle number, and you would say the answer is 19. So if I ask you to find a certain quartile, you don't have to do the entire box and whisker plot like this right here. Just find that number and you're done, okay? However, if I ask you to draw a box and whisker plot, then do the entire thing, okay? Alright, does this make sense? We're going to talk later what this does for you, okay? Now, the last set of numbers that we just looked at had an odd number of numbers. It had 11 to be exact. We you're copying these down, I'm going to count them. It should be an even number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22. Let's try it again and make sure. 22. So we're good. Okay. So if you're not done copying these down, pause the video and finish, and then turn it back on. I'm going to go ahead and move on. So we're going to write or draw a box and whisker plot for these 22 numbers. Now that means I have 11 on one side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Here's my 11th number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's my 11th. You're probably thinking, oh, Mr. Earhart, it's not that hard. We know what to do. You've taught us this. We circle these two numbers. I know that. Add them together and divide by 2 and you get 35. But here's the catch. Are you listening? Back here, after you found the middle number, and then you went over here to find these numbers, did you include the 12? Of course not. You just did these right here, correct? And these right here, correct? Well, it's a little different with an odd number, okay? When you go to circle your group to the left, because you have two middle ones, you do include that number right there. And when you go to use these numbers to the right over here, you do include this number here, so it's a little different. So whenever I have two middle numbers here, I'm not sure what I did there. Hold on one second, guys. Okay. When you have two middle numbers here, once you find your middle number, add these together and divide by 2, then probably it might be wise to get rid of this circle right here, because now you're going to include this 35 here, and you're going to include this 35 here. Please don't forget that, alright? Okay, so we have 11 numbers here. So I should have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my middle number. Then 5 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now do you see what would have happened? Listen, what if you had not done what I told you to do? What if you had not remembered to count the 35? Then you would have had 10 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. You would have circled these two numbers, add them together, divide it in half, and you would have gotten 28.5. And that's wrong. Okay? That's why it's so important you remember to include this 35. That's 11 numbers. So there's your middle number, 29. Here's your least value, 15. Over here we have 11 numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 40 is my third quartile. And my least value is 50. So what's my first quartile? 29. What's my second quartile? 35. What's my third quartile? 40. What's my least value? 15. What's my greatest value? 50. Now students, looking at my numbers here, my number line could run from 15 to 50, so I'm going to probably have it run from, I'll probably start at about, let's see, I'm going to go in increments of 3, so I'm going to start at 12 and go up to 50, 51 probably, so 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45. And again, these increments are totally your own decision, okay? 48, 51. Hopefully I did that correctly. We'll throw a couple of numbers up here just to make sure I did it correctly. There's really no set pattern here, guys. I'm just throwing some numbers up here, kind of to check my work, okay? And that's good. Okay, now, my first number is 15. It would be right here. You're welcome to put a 15 here if you want to. You don't have to. But you do have to put a 15 down here at the bottom. Next number is 29, so 27, 28, 29. If you want to put a 29 here, you can. You don't have to. But you do have to put 1 down here. 35 is next, so 35 is about right here. Next is 40, so about right here. And lastly is 50, which is about right here. Alright, so we should be able to draw a horizontal line that will connect those dots at least decently well. That's good enough. It's not perfect, but good enough. And then we'll draw our box around these 3 points here and kind of shade that in. And there's your box and whisker plot. Okay. Now, let's talk about what a box and whisker plot does for you. And I probably should have typed this, and I did not. So I would like you to type this or copy this in your notes if you would, please. And I'll try to type it well without mistakes. You can use a box and whisker plot. A box and whisker plot allows you to see how data are grouped within a set of data. So in other words, you can see if they're kind of spread out more or clustered close together. Okay. You can also, please copy this in your notes, guys. You can also compare two given sets of data by looking at the box and whisker plots. Okay, for example, let me quickly here do something. We're just about done with the video. Okay, guys, give me just one more second. We'll be done here. Let me grab this. Grab this. So I can compare. Of course, you have to be careful when you compare two box and whisker plots, because this one here is in increments of 5, and 0 to 30 might not be spread out as much as 12 to 51, but you get the point. You can still look at the main numbers here and compare them to another box and whisker plot. This shows you here on this box and whisker plot, the data is more spread out, is it not? Look at the distance from your least value to your middle value. Here they're clustered a little closer together, okay? Plus, you can also see how close the 3 quartiles are together, okay? So a box and whisker plot allows you to see how data are grouped within a set of data, and sometimes you can compare the two also, okay? It's just something that's helpful depending on what type of information you're looking for, okay? But guys, that's it. No, I could give you 2 or 3 or 4 more examples, but there's no need for that. The only thing that's difficult about these problems, as you guys know, is it's not to forget when you have an odd number. That's easy. There's one middle number, so your group to the left and your group to the right is pretty well established. However, when there's an even amount of numbers, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, when you have 2 middle numbers like this, when you go to get your left